I bet y'all wondering how we got here, huh? Well, give me a second. I'll get back to that a little later on in the story. Welcome to Oakland, man, where it's always cracking and shit always happens. This is the story of a true soldier named Lovell Mixon. Lovell Sean Mixon was no stranger to trouble and had an extensive criminal history dated all the way back to 13 years old. He began racking up felonies at the age of 18. In 2002, he would be given 6 years in prison for an attempted carjacking in San Francisco, California. The victim, a truck driver, was shot at, pistol whipped, and sustained a head injury that would cause 16 stitches to close. In a pre-sentencing report, a probation officer described Mixon as a cold-hearted person who does not have any regard for human life. They said the only way to stop Mixon's craziness was to throw him in the cell where he belonged. March 21st, 2009 will be a crazy day for Oakland, California. Lovell Mixon will be out and about, doing what he normally did, until he was pulled over for a routine traffic stop. Two motorcycle officers, John Higgy and Sergeant Mark Dunicum, stopped him for a traffic violation on 74th Avenue and MacArthur Boulevard in East Oakland, 1 block from Eastmont Town Center and the Oakland Police Department substation. After reviewing Mixon's driver's license, Sergeant Dunicum became suspicious that it was fake and signaled to his partner, Officer Higgy, to arrest Mixon. Mixon leaned out of the vehicle's side window and opened fire with a semi-automatic pistol without warning, shooting both of the officers. After the officers collapsed, he got out of the car, approached them, and fired execution style directly into their backs. He briefly stood over the bodies before fleeing on foot. Witnesses reported Mixon as having fired 6 shots. Neither officer returned fire. Witnesses said that Mixon fled westward into the surrounding neighborhood of 74th Avenue southbound. Some witnesses called 911, while others ran to the officers and started providing comfort and CPR until the ambulance arrived. By the time that they did, Sergeant Dunicum had died, and Officer Higgy was found to be mortally wounded, having been shot behind the left ear. An intense manhunt for Mixon was conducted, with the participation by some 200 officers from the Oakland Police Department, the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, the BART Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, and several agencies from various cities. He was described to the police as a black male wearing all black clothing and wide-rimmed sunglasses. Nearby, streets were cornered off, and an entire area of East Oakland was closed to traffic. However, due to the absence of a senior Oakland police officers, positions in the new command post were self-assigned by the on-scene commanders who were really overwhelmed with the citywide response. It took 90 minutes for senior officers to arrive at the scene and take control of the manhunt. Eventually, after a search on the Buick was conducted, Mixon was formally identified as a suspect in MacArthur Boulevard shooting. As police descended onto the neighborhood, a local woman walked to MacArthur Boulevard to see what the commotion was about. She noticed the burgundy Buick and recalled seeing Mixon in the car during the previous days. She also knew that Mixon's sister lived in a 2-bedroom ground-level apartment on 74th Avenue, just a block away from where the motorcycle officers were shot. Although she knew her life would be in danger if she were labeled a snitch, the woman decided to give the information to an officer she recognized. The information was then laid to Lieutenant Christopher McFarland, who was investigating Mixon's possible whereabouts independently by an off-duty police lieutenant. Without consultation or coordination with his superiors, McFarland ordered a SWAT team to converge on the area. Upon meeting up with the off-duty lieutenant and the woman who reported Mixon's current position, McFarland didn't believe the latter's credibility as eyewitness, as she didn't see Mixon directly enter the apartment and dismissed her statement. However, at the same time, another eyewitness had come forward with a valid account of seeing Mixon enter the apartment, although Mafari was unaware of that, as he had not reported back to the lieutenant who had received the statement. McFarland ordered a perimeter to be set up around the apartment while the first members of the SWAT team arrived at the scene. At 2:38 p.m., McFarland decided to have the SWAT team enter and clear the ground floor level of the apartment, sending in a tracking dog. However, the full SWAT team had yet to be assembled, Sergeant Daniel Sakai was then reassigned by McFarland from his previous position as K-9 coordinator to the SWAT team. Unknown to the SWAT team, following the MacArthur Boulevard shooting with the pistol, Mixon had managed to secure an SKS carbine with a fixed bayonet, likely stored inside his sister's apartment. Police eventually concluded that the lives of people in the 3-story apartment building might be at risk, so they couldn't afford to barricade the building and wait. They determined that due to the location of Mixon's sister's apartment within the building, there was no way to ensure that other residents could safely be brought through the single front entry door to the street. Mufara decided to send in the SWAT officers prematurely, assessing that the threat level was low due to the high unlikelihood that Mixon would actually be present inside the apartment. At 3:02 p.m., SWAT team officers raided the apartment, breaking down the door while throwing non-lethal shock flashbang grenades inside. At the time of the raid, the room was poorly illuminated. Sergeant Pat Gonzalez entered the room first, followed by Sergeant Irvin Romans. As Romans entered, he was ambushed by Mixon, who shot him through the wall and the door of the bedroom he was hiding in, mortally wounding him. Gonzalez was then shot and wounded in the shoulder. Although he continued to lead the team inside the bedroom, none of the officers had yet managed to fire their weapons due to the poor lighting of the room. They were momentarily surprised by a young girl who had been wounded in her leg by the flash grenade, who screamed loudly and fled from the bathroom. As Romans was evacuated, one of the other SWAT officers then spotted Mixon beside the bathroom door, equipped with the SKS rifle, and fired at him. Mixon was then forced to retreat inside the room and close the door. The team moved toward the bedroom and partially forced the door open. As he managed to get inside, Sakai was shot and mortally wounded by Mixon. Gonzalez rushed into the room next and tripped on the floor, falling in front of Mixon. Mixon shot at Gonzalez while he was falling and could have struck Gonzalez in the head, although the bullet was deflected by Gonzalez's tactical helmet. Spotting Mixon, Gonzalez opened fire and was joined by Alameda County Sheriff's Deputy Derek Pope. Mixon was filled with a barrage of gunfire and died from his wounds at 3:20 p.m. We all have a difference of opinion, and we all have a difference in perception. A lot of people look at Lovell Mixon as a hero, while others may look at him as a monster. Now, if you're one of the ones who view Lovell Mixon as a monster, you're probably thinking like, if he just would have complied, things wouldn't have went that far. But you also have to look at things like this as well. You have African American males who have complied with the police, and they end up losing their life as well. So you never know. Now, I don't condone what Lovell Mixon did, but I'm not here to choose a side. I'm just here to tell a story. So once again, is he a monster or is he a hero? Until next time.